These are stories about my reluctant and courageous journey into understanding and identifying my emotions and what I've learned. I'm super grateful for the questions you asked because they are guiding me on this adventure. This week's topic comes from Kim, who wanted to know how to change her self view, which means this week's topic is about how does identity impact your self view? In the previous video, I talked about how the identity I held of myself hurt my self view. In this video, I'll talk about a time I recognized how I was identifying in a situation and how it was impacting me. In the next video, I'm focusing on a time I noticed how I was identifying and I was able to shift my self-view. The next video, we'll meditate. And in the last video, we'll do the Fridity or the Friday Ditty, where I bring it all together and I get a little more poetic and a little more nerdy to make sense of the journey. All the videos will appear in the playlist, How Does Identity Impact Your Self-View? So, if you have a question like Kim did, comment below or DM me on Instagram. I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself. The question I'm starting with today is, when was a time you realized that how you were identifying impacted your self-view? Well, I think this was probably about 3 or 4 years ago. No, it had to be 4 years ago, at least. And I recognized, excuse me, that there was this identity within the disability realm, and I don't know. Like, identity comes from social construct, right? And it also is what I choose for it to be. And when I went to, I was participating in a group, and I had the caregiver company come in and be like, yeah, we're not really going to help you be your hands. We're going to limit it to this, because I felt like I was less than an animal when they did that. But what happened was, in that moment, because it was impacting my ability to be a parent. So basically, when they came in, they were like, yeah, we're not even going to help you do what's legally required in the state that you live in to be a parent. Like, there are certain rules and guidelines. And if you don't do those things, like, feed your kids or take them to school or take them to the doctor's office, things like that, then you can lose your parenting rights. And so I knew that I was really good at this. And in fact, when I first got caregivers, I was like, no, if the children need something, they have to ask me, and then I will ask you, because this is the relationship, the parenting relationship that matters, is the one that I had with my kids, not what the caregiver had with the kids. That wasn't their job to be a parent. It was my job. So I took that very seriously. And when that company came in, I realized that they were placing on me an identity that really wasn't helpful. And I think I wondered in some ways how much I believed this identity. So I had this belief that I was disabled. I still have disabilities. There are things that I couldn't do, but I started to wonder about the word dis and able. When I started thinking about it, I interpreted it as non-operable. And I think there's a real problem in our society, the social construct of the identity that says what a disability is. I need a lot of help. And if I don't mark the box that says disabled or that I have a disability, then I don't get that help. So I have to own that word in some contexts, and then, but I don't have to accept it as my self-view. So at this point in time, I had realized that in some ways I was identifying as non-operable. So how did I overcome the challenge of how I was identifying and then changing my self-view? So this is where it gets really interesting, I think, because what I started to do when I recognized what the word meant, disabled, to me, that it was like, oh, I cannot fight against the language of having a disability. And I posted in a disability parents group that I thought it would be helpful if we changed the word to something else, because clearly these parents are capable. I was capable. We were all capable of being a parent. We just needed help in other areas of our lives. And there was so much kickback on this particular post that I actually shut it down. I deleted the post. And I primarily did that because it was becoming abusive. And later, the idea, they were like, oh, there was so much research and evidence. And I'm like, okay, sure, there's research and evidence on every side of the story. I just happen to know that how we identify really matters. And so it was in that experience where I started to change my self-view, and I started looking around at the people around me, what else? Like really the people around me and their beliefs, and figuring out, okay, are these the kind of people I want to hang out with, or do I want to hang out with the people that believe they're capable? So there's a whole bunch of mess around that word because it has to be claimed. And if you use it as your self-view, it can also be damaging depending on how you perceive it. So for me, I can say, yeah, I have disabilities. And I can also say, and I have capabilities. Like just because I land in one box doesn't mean I can't land in the other box. It's not a one answer quiz, if you will. When did I know that changing my perspective of what I believed about myself was really important? I really think it was in those moments of that pushback that I got from that community was very important to me, realizing that I really didn't hold that self-view, and I didn't want to hold it because it wasn't helpful to me. And it wasn't, is there still a problem? Absolutely. Parents with disabilities have a tremendous struggle, and there's a great big donut hole in the middle. So they will help adults with disabilities, and they will help children with disabilities, but there's no help or support for parents with disabilities. And I'm telling you, we are missing out as a society when we don't think about and address that issue, because these are parents that are dedicated and they want to love their kids and they want to do their best. And then on the other side of society, it's like, well, you need help, but we're not going to give you help to do that. So if you have any passion about that topic, I recommend that you go to, see if you can get on your disability advisory commissions in different areas, talk to legal people, there are disability rights activists and things like that, or advocates, I should say. So just get out there and start voicing that this is a problem. That's the only way change can be made. So what does it mean that I can shift into my self-view, that I can start recognizing how I'm identifying? Well, it means that when somebody says something about me, or society at large, TV shows, stories, whatever, that I don't have to believe it. It doesn't have to be my truth. I can let it go. So I would love to hear from you. How has your identity been helpful for your self-view? These videos will be located in the playlist, How Does Identity Impact Your Self-View? And I'm Angela, and this is me making sense of myself.